The regular season is over. We had another wonderful Kershaw Day send-off, the final one we will experience, at least in the regular season this year. A whole bunch of stuff to talk about. The Dodgers are playing the Reds. We got a little bit closer to figuring out the roster. We're going to figure it out here tonight on this edition of All Dodgers. That's you live from my home studio in beautiful La Puente, California. This is the All Dodgers podcast. We'll hit some man. Brought to you by FanDuel, presented by FanDuel, part of the Bleav Network of podcast. My name is Clint Pasillas. Find me on the socials. It's Real FRG. That guy over there is Jeff Snydog Snyder on the Twitter. Jeffrey J. Snyder if you follow him on the Instagram for some reason. We are the heads that bring
Jeffrey
you.
Jeff J. Snyder on Instagram.
Listen. Sorry.
Don't follow me on Instagram, there's no good stuff there.
Jefferson. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what we learned. Hey, Jefferson. Jafonski, we got through a season,
yes,
man.
Christopher.
We got through 162 games, and now the real season can begin. The Dodgers sweep the Seattle Mariners, a good baseball team. I don't want to say they made them look foolish, but the Dodgers went in there and kind of handed them their butts. What'd you like about this series? What are we talking about when we're talking about this final, series of the season?
Yeah. I liked when the Dodgers won all three of the games. That part was fun. The pitchers who are going to be on the postseason roster allowed one earned run in 27 innings this weekend to a good Mariners team that was still playing for something when the series started. Still had a guy sitting on 60 home runs, trying to get to 62 or 63, and is still sitting on 60. And we'll go, head into October, stuck on 60. This was an excellent series for the Dodgers to, didn't have anything to play for, realistically, who didn't put out their A lineup until today. And even that A lineup today was missing 3 stars who are down with injuries. It was to dominate this series that way when they had no business doing it. Definitely makes me feel better about things heading into October.
Yeah, we knew the starting pitching was good. We knew the lineup can put some points on the board. Even the B lineup, we learned, can put some points on the board. But seeing the bullpen kind of figure some things out, striking out 9 in a row, and it was some guys who were going to play important roles for this team in October. I was going to ask, has the bullpen just been playing with our emotions really over the course of the season, but specifically here in September, because there's a moment there where, hey, if this, either way, the team is riding and dying with that bullpen. I don't know. They figured something out when the game started meaning something again.
Yeah, they might have. I always say bullpen is the most volatile of any of the areas of baseball. It's why teams don't like to spend a lot of money on relievers. It's why Andrew Friedman doesn't like to spend a lot of trade capital on relievers. All those things, because you can have a reliever who's great one year and terrible the next year. You can have a reliever who's terrible one year and great the next year. And as we've seen, you can have a reliever who is great one year and then terrible later the same year, and then great again that same year, and then terrible again. And so for all the negativity, for all the negative aspects of that volatility, there can be some positives too, which is that, guess what? If you got guys with talent, sometimes that talent actually does perform.
Yeah.
And so much of the postseason is built on getting hot at the right time anyway. There's no reason that this Dodgers bullpen can't get hot at the right time. I wouldn't bet on it with certain guys, but the bullpen as a whole, I don't see any reason why they can't pitch well enough to help the Dodgers win a World Series.
Yeah, we've said this in so many words. We got a lot of crap 2 shows ago, our Friday night show. Obviously Tanner Scott had been doing his job. One guy, I forget who it was, and we welcome everybody's crap and poop and everything else in between to our takes, because #engagement, baby. But not very happy with the idea of us trying to, us feeling okay or good about Tanner Scott. I think overall, just feeling better about the bullpen, actually seeing them perform rather than what we had seen for the greater part of the month of September. If this bullpen is good, this team can go very, very deep into the playoffs and potentially into the World Series and win a World Series and back-to-back and send Kershaw out a happy camper and all that kind of stuff. He was already a happy camper, by the way. Let's talk about Clayton Kershaw's finale. Of course, another 5 1/3 shutout innings from the guy, from the GOAT, I should say. 7 punchies in there. I like this. This guy usually, this Yankee World guy, he likes to, good engagement guy on the Twitter, and he'll usually crap on some people. But finishing the season with a 3.36 ERA is Kershaw, which, in Kershaw's standard is probably bad, but realistically, Clayton Kershaw in our lifetimes was never a bad pitcher. Even in the postseason, people are going to point to, still was never a bad pitcher. Had some bad luck, but it was another great send-off. I mean, I don't think you could have scripted it much better for Clayton until we get to the postseason and get him another ring and all that kind of stuff. You couldn't have scripted it much better for 22.
Yeah, absolutely. And today he got kind of the same experience as last week in his last home start, except that he pitched better today. And so an inning deeper into the game, left as the pitcher of record. The Dodgers won both games, but Kershaw didn't get the win last week, partly because he didn't pitch 5 innings and partly because he didn't stay in long enough to actually depart with the lead. And so today it was just like a step up from last week's. And you look at even how each game ended. You're going back out there for one hitter, go get him so I can take you off the mound. And Kershaw said, well, I'm out here. I might as well get a strikeout. And I mean, the 2 guys he struck out in those 2 at-bats combined for 84 home runs this year. 84, 83.
Hashtag Matt, baby.
I think, what's his name? Suarez ended up with 49, right?
I don't know.
I think he was at 49. Devers is at 34. 83 home runs between the 2. And Kershaw, he Kershawed them. And like today, he looked very, very good, to the point where one of my social media buddies messaged me, and he's like, he's got another year or 2 in the tank. I wish he'd stick around. And I think that's kind of the point with Kershaw. The fact that baseball never told him you're done. He told baseball, I'm done. Mm-hmm. And that is something that nobody gets to do. And the people who get to do that are people who, well, I don't really have that much I'm playing for anyway. I'm going to go ahead and retire. I got my 10 years pension, there's not much else for me to do. I'm going to walk away. Kershaw's walking away. Oh, by the way, I'm a first ballot Hall of Famer. I'm, hopefully this year I'm going to be a 3-time World Series champion, plus 1 time stolen from me by the cheating cheaters. Kershaw accomplished everything there is to accomplish and still got to walk away on his own terms.
Yeah, and obviously still going to be pitching for something if the Dodgers advance. Well, we will be talking about the roster stuff later on in the show. I'm seeing some people bringing up, I think it's mostly Ken bringing up in the chat, the fact that Tyler Glasnow looks like he could be available in relief in the wild card series, and Kershaw likely not going to be on that wild card roster. We'll talk about that in a number of minutes. But yeah, 3,052 strikeouts. Kershaw finishes his regular season with, over the course of his career, 2.53 ERA, which, breaking news, is very, very good. His career, 18 seasons, is just a couple ticks above what Yamamoto put together this year with his 2.49. Clayton Kershaw was insanely good over the course of his career. And I also saw somebody else, a couple people bringing up Landon Knack in the chat. Landon, great job coming up and coming in relief there for Clayton, saving the bullpen. The same as well, I guess I don't want to say Heaney, because Heaney didn't do that yesterday, realistically. No. But
Heaney was supposed to go 3 or 4 innings. He only got through 2. Landon Knack today did what Heen Dog was supposed to do yesterday. And just like for them to not have to even warm anybody else up in the bullpen today, just say, hey, everybody else gets a day off. It's Clayton Kershaw and Landon Knack, 2 guys who aren't pitching in the wild card series, which means everybody who is pitching in the wild card series is coming into the series on at least 2 days of rest.
I also love, we were talking about it before going live here, Kirsten Watson speaking with Ellen Kershaw there, kind of getting her final thoughts on the regular season career of Clayton Kershaw, and her husband, as it were. and her mentioning this too. You mentioned the dirty stinking cheaters who aren't in the postseason, by the way. We'll talk about that in a second. But her favorite moment in Clayton's career, the arms coming out, running out of the bullpen in that 2020 bubble, winning, quieting a bunch of haters, and winning that 2020 World Series. And then, of course, the everything that happened last week at Dodger Stadium for that send-off. I loved A.J. Ellis being there. Rick Honeycutt is somebody I think still doesn't get enough credit these days. Obviously instrumental in helping build the man that became 22 and is a first ballot Hall of Famer. Freddie Freeman going out there to take the ball, or try to take the ball from him. Just everything was great about the day for 22, man.
And shout out to the Mariners and their stadium crew for, like, they celebrated Kershaw. Obviously, he's not their guy, but they put a graphic up on the board. Their stadium PA announcer, hyped him up. They gave him the send-off he deserved. And yeah, it helps that it's not a rivalry at all.
Yeah.
The game didn't matter to either team at all. And so you could just do it. We saw the same thing in Milwaukee. I don't know if you saw that today. The Reds lost to the Brewers, but they made the playoffs because the Mets then lost. And so they went out on the field to take their picture. And yeah, the Brewers put up on their big screen a clinched graphic in Reds colors, Reds logo and everything to make it good for their picture. And that's it. Same division, not a rivalry necessarily, but like some good sportsmanship we saw, but it's definitely easier when both teams involved are already going to the playoffs. And so it's like, hey, good for you,
Yeah, and I mean, coming on a day, too, where if you're talking about having class, and I had put the tweet up earlier, got a couple of super chats, including an insane one. We're going to get to that in just a second, but I put it up earlier in the chat, Denny Cortez saying, Seattle showed a lot of class, and this is on a day where, that was yesterday, I guess, Ollie Marmol of the Cardinals robbing old pal Michael Busch of an opportunity for a cycle, which is just pathetic. It's sad. It's not about you. It's about the game for entertaining fans. And that is a straight up dick move.
Especially the second to last game of the season when your team is not going to the playoffs and you're not going to win this game. You're already losing. If you guys didn't hear, Michael Busch comes up needing just a single. It's not like he was a triple shot.
Yeah.
He comes up with a legit shot at a cycle, and the Cardinals intentionally walk him. Just
soft.
The fact that the game, the Cardinals play at Busch Stadium and it was Michael Busch, it makes sense that they did something Busch League, because it was like Ollie Marmol became I don't have a list of favorite to least favorite managers. Most managers I'm like vaguely aware they exist. Ollie Marmol is way down low on my list now, though. Like, that's just garbage.
Yeah, no, that's weak. And again, it's not about you, man. It's about the game. It's about fans being there. Fans.
Can you maybe ask him about that after the game? Do you know?
I think so. He's like, it's not going to happen on my watch in so many words, which is just.
Think of Skip Schumacher last year when Shohei Ohtani was going for 50-50.
Yeah,
and
great point.
Shohei comes up with first base open, and Skip Schumacher, you could read his lips as the Marlins manager. He said I have too much effort and respect for, and he said either this guy or the game. But either way, either one is the correct answer. And they pitched to him, and Shohei hit the home run. And whoever that pitcher was didn't want to give up that home run, but
but he did.
The Marlins, didn't take the easy way out like the Cardinals did.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to get into our super chats, and then we also got to talk about Shohei in this one as well. But $9.99 from our friend Francisco Diaz, and we're going to push all the buttons on that, giving some love to Clayton Edward Kershaw. Was amazing overs last week, the regular season baseball. Now 13 wins away from the ultimate send-off, which starts on Tuesday. Don't overlook the Reds. Thank you, 22. We're going to talk about Tuesday shortly coming up in the show. How about this, though? MH Dodger for life for $9.99. That's almost $50 in super chat money. Thank you very much. MH Dodger for life, you are awesome. I should do more of a dance for that. But a new start. Yeah. Let's go, boys. Follow Robert's speech. Win the World Series. Go blue, boys. Don't give in. Pair starting pitchers if you need it. If relievers fail, just Dodgers win the World Series. If they win the World Series, he's going to give us a $200 super chat on the post World Series show.
Finally, something to get Clint to root for the Dodgers to win.
Oh God. Well, appreciate that love and support there, MH Dodger, and I've been saying that too, man. I love what Dave said with the whole just keep that edge. You have 5 more weeks to keep that edge. Who cares about your wife? Who cares about your girlfriend? Who cares about both of them if you have them both? Screw your family. It's you be here with the boys and let's go win another one of these things. And one guy who's going to help him, Shohei Ohtani, hit number 55. The only season, because stats are weird, the only season in baseball history where a player has finished with 55 homers, and of course it's Shohei Ohtani breaking his own Dodgers franchise record. Not much to say about him. He had another ho-hum great day.
He also finished with 146 runs scored, which I think still places him at 3rd place all time. But the 2 guys ahead of him were literally both born when Abraham Lincoln was president. That's not a joke. That's when those guys were born. Both of them were born in 1864 when Abraham Lincoln was president. Nobody born after Abraham Lincoln has ever scored more runs for the Dodgers than Shohei Ohtani did this year.
Yeah, they really listen. Shohei's the guy in my eye. I don't care about people from 400 years ago, back when Richie was born. No reason. There's no reason to slam Richie.
You think Ohtani's good, huh?
Yeah, breaking news. I also want to make sure, shout out more people hanging out with us in the chat. We appreciate you guys here on the Sunday night. I love what Diane is saying. What she always tells people, reminds you, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We are trying to get to 20,000 subscribers. We're super duper close. I think we're like 100 away, 200 away. I forgot where we're at. But we appreciate you guys for supporting us up to this point in this journey where the real season now begins. The Dodgers are set to welcome the Cincinnati Reds Dodger Stadium on Tuesday, September 30th, 6:08 first pitch. And this is what that playoff bracket looks like. The Cubs, Padres play each other earlier in the day, so hopefully the Cubs... Well, I don't know. I don't really care so much about that series yet, but hopefully the Cubs have a 1-0 advantage over the Padres, because I think you and me and Kevin were talking about that. I don't want to see the Padres in any of the series, let alone a potential NLCS, because I don't know that my heart can handle that one. But
yeah, it's kind of what I said last week. It comes down to, if I know for sure, if I had a crystal ball and knew the Dodgers are going to win the World Series, I do not care who they play along the way. But you start thinking about, okay, if they are going to get eliminated, which there's a 83% chance they will or whatever. Who will it make you the least sad for? And that's, I think we can all agree that we don't want anything good for the Padres,
to a degree, of course.
In baseball terms, I wish them nothing but happiness in life and leg day. But it's
good. That's what you did there. It's a good one. Yeah, chicken leg mofo there. By the way,
it's nice that there's only one other National League West team in the postseason, and if the Dodgers can meet up with them, it wouldn't be until the NLCS. So, go Dodgers!
Go Dodgers! By the way, the Dodgers are odds-on favorites over at FanDuel. Of course, proud presenter of the All Dodgers podcast here. Dodgers currently -245 favorites. Reds at +200. As you would imagine, I think the Cubs are also favored in the Padres series or as well in that series with the Padres. But we have a Game 1 starter all but named. Dave saying it's Blake Snell, which is what I always assumed. I think that's the right call there. It puts him on 6 days rest. Yamamoto going on Game 2. He would also be on 6 days rest. And then Shohei Ohtani is available either to start Game 1 if needed in the NLDS if there is not a Game 3, or, of course, Game 3 in this wild card series where in that game everything goes. And, again, we'll talk more about Tyler Glasnow a little bit later. Not a whole lot to say there. We're going to do our full, Reds Dodgers series preview tomorrow at some point. We don't know the time yet. Probably like 8 o'clock in the evening. Us two plus Kevin. So we'll get more into that tomorrow into that series. But at least they didn't win today. Because, the Reds have been streaking, and I would rather play a team that was kind of floundering like the Mets. But, Yeah, once the calendar switches to the postseason, anything can happen. Anything,
Yeah,
absolutely anything.
And like I said the other night, either team, the Mets or the Reds, the Dodgers should beat them. The Dodgers are better than them. I do think the Reds right now are a better team than the Mets, even though the Mets are probably a more talented team, at least offensively. The Mets bullpen really is or starting pitching really is in shambles, and that's why they're in the position they're in. But also, they scored 0 runs today in a must-win game, so the offense isn't quite everything they would hope for it to be either. But yeah, the Reds are a 6 seed, and that's where they deserve to be. The Dodgers are a better team, and like I always say, I just wish that always mattered in October. It doesn't always matter, unfortunately.
I don't have this one ready to put up on the screen, but OptaStats had it. The Reds are the first team in MLB history to have no qualifying batter hit over 270. No batter hit 25 homers or more, no pitcher win 15 games, and no pitcher notch 200 or more strikeouts, of course, in a non-shortened season, and yet still make the playoffs. They are a bad team. They are not a good team. I don't know if they're a bad team, but they're definitely not a good team. So I feel pretty seeing how well the Dodgers have played down the stretch here when the games are the most meaningful and playing against teams with postseason some sort of postseason berths on the line. I think we're in a very good spot. $4.99 earlier from Richie Flores. By the way, thank you very much, Richard, out there in divorce as the Mets' epic failure collapse was as empty as Manny Machado's soul. Reds are not a pushover. If you step on home plate more than the Reds, you win the ball game. How about that one? Put more points
math,
up,
baby.
Put more points up than the other team. Yeah, let's talk about that real quickly. The disappointment that is the Nye Mets, which are not my favorite squadron. Simpsons reference there. It's a lot of money that is not making the postseason with the Mets there right at the top. This coming from my friend Michael Byer, who does great work for the Foul Territory Network. Any thoughts about the Mets collapse?
My main thought is when people argue with me, when I have the nerve to say Dave Roberts, who has the highest winning percentage in Major League history, might be a decent manager. And I often get, a JV coach could take this team to the playoffs, could win this team. You just say, oh, the Dodgers spend a lot of money and that's why they're successful. And it has nothing to do with the manager. Well, the Mets of this year and several other years are a really good example of how that's not true. The Padres are a good example of that. The Padres spent a ton of money, and they've been through, 37 managers in the time that Dave Roberts has managed the Dodgers? Dave Roberts didn't even get an interview, right?
When he was there.
Who was it? J.C. Tingley that they hired instead of him?
Hingle McTingleberry. That was my guy, man. I loved him.
All those teams you just had up on the screen, all those teams, their payroll isn't quite what the Dodgers is, but they didn't lose because they didn't spend enough money on players. Yeah. They lost because they didn't score more points than the other team enough times. And there's something to be said for what Dave Roberts has been able to accomplish. So that's my only thought on the Mets missing the playoffs is thank you, Dave Roberts. And I do believe that managers get too much credit and too much blame, but whatever intangibles Dave Roberts has are intangibling the crap out of it right now,
Yeah, I mean, listen, you can have a Ferrari, you got to know how to drive. You can have a Ferrari like the Mets had, but if you have bad tires or if you have a bad part or something is just not up to snuff, you're going to spin out and lose control and have a hard time. Think of it like what is that? Mario Kart, you run over a banana or something like that. Anyways, Dave has the tools. He has the talent. He might not be the most talented driver, but he's good at it.
Nick mentions Nick Ramos in the chat. It was Andy Green they hired when they didn't even give Dave Roberts an interview. They hired Andy Green instead. Remember Andy Green when he used to exist?
Yeah. I'm still waiting for that fight, by the way.
Yeah. He didn't want the smoke.
Then it was Hingle McTingleberry, and then I think then it was Bob Melvin. Was there somebody else in between? I feel like there was somebody else in between.
But you said Jace Tingler. I don't know. There's probably 6 guys in between. They can't keep a manager.
So, by the way, we do have Owen as a Reds fan in the chat hanging out with us saying he's so happy. Hey, we're happy for you. This is the first time the Reds have been in the postseason, since 2020, but, do what you will with that one. What is it, the first time since a long time, to 90s, I think it was
95. The
95?
Dodgers and Reds in the playoffs. Yeah.
Been a minute. It's been a minute. So good on the Reds. Hopefully they do have World Series champion Gavin Lux on that roster. And of course they do have a couple of good starting pitchers with Hunter Green going up against Blake Snell in that game one. Alex asking, this is the matchup we all wanted, right? I mean, give me anybody, honestly. Give me anybody.
Like we said, the Reds are scary. They have some good starting pitching. The Dodgers offense should be able to handle that.
So before we move on to some kind of quick, we do have voicemails tonight. We have some quick season thoughts because you have completed 162 games now. Before we dive into that, I do want to tell people about Delete Me. They do sponsor us here on the channel. I guess I should call it Delete Me. I don't know. I'm saying it wrong. I always say delete me. Like, don't delete me. I want to be here. But it does make it quick, easy, and safe to remove your personal data online at a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everybody vulnerable. What do data brokers do? That's the people, they go out there, they try to get your name, your contact info, social security number, home address, even information about your family members. All of that can be compiled by data brokers and sold online. I don't know about you guys. I don't want that. I don't like that. I hate getting random calls. I hate getting things in the mail. I don't want some people showing up at my house saying they're going to break my legs. I don't, if I don't pay them some sort of money. I don't know if Delete Me can help with that, but they can help you with a lot of other things. Take control of your data. Keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me now at a special discount. You guys see it there on the screen. The special discount for our listeners, get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/hit. That is HIT. Use that promo code HIT at checkout and you save the 20%. The only way to get that 20% off, go to joindeleteme.com/hit. Use promo code HIT at checkout. Once again, that's joindeleteme.com/hit. Use promo code HIT at checkout and save. I'm pointing at you about it. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us and supporting the brands and sponsors who support us here at All Dodgers. So let's get back into the wrap. It's a wrap on the regular season. This team won 93 games. They were supposed to win 162-0, or go 162-0. I don't know what happened. I blame Jeff. There was bullpen woes. You have an elite rotation. You had the right fielder moving to shortstop and maybe going to win himself a Gold Glove. Conforto existing for the entirety of the season. Kershaw having a swan song. Shohei becoming the first ever 55-50-20 dude. What's kind of your summary? I asked Doug this yesterday on the show. What's your summary of 162 games of Dodger baseball in 25?
Yeah, all things considered, at the end of the day, the Dodgers won 5 fewer games this year than last year, right? Mm-hmm. Last year they won 98. I think. That means that's one extra loss every 5 weeks, basically, of the season. It felt different than that. Like, I think if you ask people, they'd say that this team seemed noticeably worse than last year's team, and yet the actual record, I don't think it actually is noticeable. I don't think the average fan can tell the difference between a 18 and 11 month and a 17 and 12 month, and that's kind of the difference. And but part of that is because there was some real lows this season. That from early July until a few weeks ago, the team was bad.
Yeah.
And even since it stopped being bad, some of the parts of the team were still bad. The bullpen specifically. And so the ups and downs were more pronounced this year. It's kind of funny. I saw a thing on social media the other day about Freddie Freeman's consistency. And in his career, that's true. But this year, like, Freddie Freeman was batting, 380?
Yeah.
And then within 3 weeks, he was down to 290 because he just was terrible. And then he got good again. But even Freddie Freeman this year was woo.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, I think there's something to be said for a team. Like, I used to joke that ever since the Dodgers got good, Dodger fans got more and more miserable. And like, the worst thing that ever happened was them making the World Series in 2017 and then making it again in 2018. Because now it's like, well, we expect to win. And then it's like, everything's the worst. Like, you think about 2019, how bad did you feel after Dodgers lost the NLDS in 2019? compared to when they lost it in 2015 against the Mets.
Yeah.
Well, it felt a lot worse in 2019 because we had gotten our hopes up. We had gotten our expectations up. And that's like this year's team because of the expectations coming in. Like realistically, people shouldn't have expected them to set the record for most wins in a season. I talked about that on my old show, why I thought that was unlikely. Even though talent-wise, they maybe could have. But even if you had realistic expectations this year and thought they were only going to win 104 games, like that was your realistic expectations, and then they win 93. So I understand why people were frustrated this season, but it's kind of cool to be in a situation where your team can be, bad for a couple months and totally inconsistent and a disappointment and win 93 games and win the division and have a good chance to win the World Series.
Yeah, I mean, it is really, really funny. I mean, they were mostly was bad in the second half. First half, they were 19 games over 500, #math baby, and then just 4 games over 500 in the second half, and that took them kind of going on a hot streak here to end the season. So we're just not used to this team and a team with this much talent playing 500 baseball. Luckily, they had an exceptionally good first half, or a very good first half, playing just under 600 ball. And you spoke to it, talking about the expectations. Entering this season, the expectations were insane. Kevin and I did our before the season win predictions. I had 109. He had 112. We were way off. But it's still a very good team, and they are, again, trending in the right direction at the right time, which is always by far the most important thing when you're watching a baseball season.
Yeah, especially in October. It's the team that wins the World Series every single year is the team that gets hot at the right time. Sometimes that's a team that's really, really good and was hot the whole season too. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the time it is, the Rangers in 2023, they weren't a good team.
Nope.
The Braves in 2021, they weren't a good team. They weren't a great team. They were both solid teams, good enough to get into the postseason, and then they got hot at the right time. And that's how you win it. And so this Dodgers team, you look at the tools they have with this starting pitching, this offense, I feel like if I was a fan of another team, the Dodgers are the team I'd be most scared of because they do have all of those tools that absolutely give them potential to get hot at the right time, because as we saw this weekend, you don't even need all of them to get hot to be successful.
Now, obviously, I'm not going to sit here and say I feel phenomenal, because there's still some shaky parts of this bullpen. As we sit here, the expectation is that Tanner Scott will be in that bullpen, Blake Treinen will be in that bullpen, and they have been rough, to say the least, here this season, especially in the second half. We are going to talk about our roster expectations in a little bit. Alex bringing up in the chat, Jeff, it's not the 93, it's all the blown saves and the meltdowns, which, of course, the bullpen probably cost this team. What did you say? Somebody in the chat said, Ohtani boy said, add up the blown saves, and my math worked out to get us to that 109, 112, whatever. If we needed the bullpen to be bad to eventually be good in the postseason, I'll take that version of the story. We don't know yet, but I'll take it.
But not every year.
Not every year.
I don't want to do this again next year. Next year, I want the team that actually does challenge the all-time wins record. Give me a easy regular season next year, and then they can get hot in the postseason again. But I think a year like this does help you appreciate things a little bit more.
Nicole is saying this season for her gets an incomplete grade. Not that we're doing grades right now, but I appreciate the grade angle. I figured everybody's doing grades, so I didn't want to do that this time through. But they're entering the finals with most of their grade weighing on the upcoming performance. And they go out there and win a World Series. We don't think one iota about Tanner Scott's shitty season or Kirby Yates signing or anything like that. We don't care. They won a World Series. That's the most important part. That said, let's have this quickly, and then we'll talk about our roster. We'll have voicemails after. Biggest surprise on the pitching side for you, who was it? Or do you want me to go first, because I have one locked in?
I'm close, but why don't you go first?
Pause.
You don't got to say phrasing. We all heard
Listen. Emmett Sheehan, I think on the pitching side was my biggest surprise. I had a lot of faith in the dude's talent. He was what we saw. I can't say he was always what we saw in him in 23. There was a lot of upside. There was a lot of things to like about him, especially whenever he pitched against the San Francisco Giants. But as much credit as we give Clayton Kershaw for being an anchor alongside Yamamoto in the starting rotation, the other guy who was right there behind both of them was Emmett Sheehan. As soon as he joined the rotation, he was pretty much a dog in that rotation day in and day out. So that is my biggest surprise on the pitching side for the team this season.
Yeah, I think I'd have to go with Jack Dreyer, just because a year ago at this time, none of us knew his name. 10 months ago at this time, 8 months ago at this time, we were all like, well, we heard his name because the Dodgers added him to the 40-man roster to protect him for the Rule 5 draft, I think. But I think last November when they protected him for the Rule 5 was the first time a lot of us had given any thought at all to him. And then it's like, oh, he's going to be on the roster in Korea. Where'd they play? No, Japan this year. In Japan. That's cool. That, make his major league debut in Japan. Cool. That's great for the young guy, And then he spent the whole year on the roster. And he had the most innings pitched of any reliever they had on the team. Like everybody else, only 5 guys on the Dodgers have more innings pitched this year. And all 5 of them at least spent some time as starting pitchers.
And for Dreyer to be the dude who, he made the season. He survived the season, front to end. He was there and had a
1.05 whip in that time. Like
a
rookie who none of us had ever heard of, to be the main dog out of the bullpen, innings wise, and quality to go with that quantity.
Yeah,
like he was huge for us,
and hopefully he continues to be huge heading into the postseason. On the hitting side, for me, I'm probably going to steal who you might say. It's Andy Pages, 27 homers. Considering where he was at after his first couple of weeks into the season, everybody wanted to send him to the moon, self included, send him to Mars, get rid of him, send him packing. Even heading into spring training, I was looking at the roster and how many dudes they had, and you're kind of like, send him to AAA if they're not going to play him every day. Otherwise, keep him here and just let it eat, let him figure it out. And thankfully, Teo put his arm around him, and Pages had himself a very, very good season. And you could say, far and away the best Dodgers hitting prospect that they have developed since Will Smith. And they're kind of been few and far in between there. Gavin Lux didn't necessarily pan out great. But anyways, I don't want to get into that much. Pages, that's my guy. Biggest surprise of 25.
Yeah, I think offensively, honestly, Pages' numbers are about what I hoped he could be. I wouldn't say I'd expected it, but you look at, 774 OPS, 27 homers. Like he was, only a 313 on base percentage. Like there's still work to be done for Andy Pages offensively, including, learning that you're allowed to allow the pitcher to throw 4 balls and just walk to first base. Work to be done. But when you throw in the fact how poorly he started, and the defensive improvement, I got to be with you on that. And also throw in the fact that there were a lot more negative surprises than positive surprises for the Dodgers this year offensively. When you go with Teoscar Hernandez,
which we're going to get into, for sure, in a second.
All that stuff. So it's got to be Andy Pages almost by default because everybody else was kind of what we expected, or maybe a little bit of a letdown.
And the other thing, too, is, you mentioned like the defensive improvements. I think you saw steady improvements. Yeah, he still had his bonehead base running plays here and there. He's going to throw the baseball as hard as he can, as often as he can to bases, sometimes the wrong base. But I'll take the outfield assists and gunning down dudes at home rather than him be timid and always, hit the cutoff or whatever. But seeing him kind of develop different clubs, put different clubs in the bag, using the right side of the even the right side of the infield more as the season went on. That just keeps making you feel a lot better as his career continues to develop. So maybe he is somebody who's in this outfield for a long time to come. But great season, Andy Pages. It's not done yet. Biggest disappointments. You lead off on this one. Who is your biggest disappointment on the pitching side?
On the pitching side,
Or if you want to do hitting first, since we're coming off of hitters.
I do have the hitting tab open up here on MLB.com.
Shameless plug. Not a sponsor.
Yeah. If you haven't heard of this organization called Major League Baseball, check it out, folks. It's
link in the description.
Yeah. I'm tossing between Teoscar Hernandez and Michael Conforto. Obviously, Teo was better than Conforto, but I think we had much higher expectations for Teoscar. Conforto was more of a disappointment compared to what he's been in his career, but he's also not a guy who was great for the Dodgers last year, and he signed a 1-year contract. So Conforto was worse, but I think I'd have to say Teoscar was more disappointing, but also a guy I have more hope for going forward.
Yeah, I had both the same names. Teo coming off of the season that he had, the expectations were just higher, and he did a lot more things, I guess you could say, on the other side of the baseball to help the team out. I'm talking about Pages kind of being his Mr. Miyagi or whatever, helping that kid learn his game. So for the fun of it, it's going to be Michael Conforto. I'm officially going to lock in Conforto as by far the biggest disappointment on the hitting side for the Dodgers in 2025, because they spent $17 million on this dude for him to hit under 200, be in the lineup almost every day, and lie to us here and there with occasional spurts where he didn't just strike out or ground out or hit into double plays every second. Yeah, it's Conforto. He's bad. I don't really want him on the roster, but that's a different conversation. Pitching, what do you got? Biggest disappointment in 2025?
It's got to be Tanner Scott.
Yeah, of course.
Like there's no.
Scott. I was going to say
no other answer.
Besides Tanner Scott, but
yeah, we might have to do besides Tanner Scott. In fact, let's do that. Okay. I think everybody, you and me, and all 339 people in the chat right now agree Tanner Scott was the biggest disappointment. Besides him, I'd have to go with Blake Trinan. I have the entire pitching staff sorted by ERA, and I had to click on page 2 to get to Blake Trinan's name, and that's 5.40 ERA. That's worse than Kirby Yates, worse than Luis Garcia, worse than Tanner Scott, worse than a lot of guys. Better than both Miguel Rojas and Kike Hernandez. I'll give him that. But after what Blake Trinan did for this team last year, and all of that, that's kind of the point here, that we're talking disappointing seasons. Like, I have hope for Blake Trinan. I have nothing but love for what he did to help the Dodgers win a World Series last year. When we're talking about 2025, Blake Trinan turned out to have a really bad season. Only pitched 26 2/3 innings, which maybe at his age we should have expected. But then when he did pitch, he walked 19 guys in those 26 2/3 innings. He gave up 16 earned runs in those 26 2/3 innings. He just had a bad season. Yeah. And for a guy with stuff as good as his, that was disappointing.
Yeah, the between the ears was not very good. Maybe he hung out with what's his name, Bobby Miller, a little bit too much during spring training. I don't know, but not a great season for. Luckily, it's not done. There's still more season to be had, and he can have big moments ahead of him. So far, we already have locked in everybody universally. Tanner Scott. We have Blake Trinan. For me, and it's also another one where the story is yet to be fully written, but Roki Sasaki, just all of the noise from the offseason, the expectations, perhaps a bit overblown, some of the expectations, just because we heard so much about him. So that means he's supposed to be good, but also the people who paid more attention understood he was a work in progress. For him to only get into 10 games, 8 of those were starts. Obviously the last 2 have been relief appearances where they have been much better, but considering the expectations, Roki is my biggest disappointment. But thankfully it happened in a way because it opened the door for Emmett Sheehan to be somebody that, either this team looks at as their number 4, number 5, number 6 starter next year, or as a trade piece for an organization or whatever, because they do have Gavin Stone coming back next year. They're going to have a lot of talent on the pitching side. But anyways, that's also off-season talk.
Yeah, and all of these guys kind of underscore why we had to do other than Tanner Scott, because like Blake Trinan, we knew his injury history, we knew his age. We should have expected he could have a bad year. Kirby Yates, same thing. Roki Sasaki, we knew age on the other side. We knew experience level. We knew he was going to be a work in progress. We should have tempered our expectations with him. Mm-hmm. A lot of the guys who pitched poorly this year, we kind of should have tempered our expectations. Tanner Scott, there was no reason to have anything but the greatest expectations for Tanner Scott this year, other than the fact that relief pitchers are volatile and sometimes they suck right after being great. Yeah. But that's why Tanner Scott's the most disappointing, because there's none of those red flags that we should have seen and we missed. No, it's just he just had some really, really bad stretches this year.
He was very bad. Sergio is saying as an L take on Roki, signed him to a minor league contract. I'm going mostly based on the expectations and the chatter and the noise entering the season. I mean, this was a guy, every team wanted him. Every team was in on him. You had to hear Jim Bowden talk on Foul Territory for way too much, which is any words is too much when you're talking about Jim Bowden talking and making noise and exhausting,
especially when it's on video, so you have to see that toupee.
So anyways, that's why. Yeah, I understand. It's also same like Denny saying I still consider him a prospect still. I'm going based on just disappointments. I expected more out of him. I'm not saying he's a bust. I'm not saying he's done. Same with Tanner Scott. He still has a postseason. He still has 3 more years under team control or under contract. So we're disappointed in them this year. At least for the regular season, but that doesn't mean like, oh, trash these dudes already. That's kind of the point of the conversation.
I expect at least 2 of the last 3 years of Tanner Scott's contract for him to be roughly as good as he was the 2 years leading up to this year. But yeah, I do think maybe people had too high expectations for Roki Sasaki. Yeah. For me, my expectations were, hey, he's great. The Dodgers have great starting pitching, a lot of it. And if Roki can add to it this year, great. But, the great thing about this minor league contract is they've got at least 6 years of him to get him to where he needs to be. And you're betting on the potential more than the finished product.
Absolutely. So those are our thoughts there. We do, as I said, have some playoff talk, some roster talk coming up in just a little bit. But we do have some voicemails that have come up today, and actually there's been a few over the days leading up to this point. I have the number on the screen. We're not going to take any new fresh voicemails today for the show. If you do call in, it's maybe something we play tomorrow on our series preview show. But we got 4 voicemails. Thankfully, most of them are short. Richie's is longer, but it's actually pretty good. Anyways, let's listen to Noah. It's actually pretty good. Breaking news to spoil it. Oh, also shout out Rosa. Became a member. Thank you, guys. Thank you for becoming a member, supporting the channel here. It's they joined the I want the emojis tier, so you get emojis on YouTube. If you go up to $5, you can join us on Discord. Go check that out. Patreon.com/RealFRG. Hey, I'll leave that on the screen while we listen to Noah, because why not?
Well, what up, guys? That's Noah, as you know. And I gotta say, guys, remember that time when we were all crying and in our bed watching the games? And we were saying how this was the end, and you accused Clint Kershaw of gaslighting us. Remember that? Well, guess what? One thing has not changed, and that is, I love my Dodgers. I love Clayton Kershaw. I told someone a few months ago, before I even knew he was going to retire, that I actually love Clayton Kershaw more than 95% of the people I've met, even though I personally have not met Kershaw. So that's what I got to say about Kershaw. And another thing is, guys, I want Roki. I want Glasnow. I want our starters coming out of the bullpen and essentially breaking the formula. Last year we broke the formula by having bullpen games and punting games. Now let's take it a step forward. So anyways, guys, that's all I got to say. And have a good one.
You know what he wanted to say. He definitely wanted to say F all of the things, but it's a Sunday. We don't do that. Hey, let's listen to, this was a call that, I forgot, it said, I just typed this one out as 927 caller. So we're going to listen.
Here's the thing, fellas. Dope show, by the way.
That's yesterday.
Chiming in from Temecula, California. It's looking good. It's looking pretty good. All I fear is Roberts having Conforto in the postseason roster. This guy's a liability in the outfield. This guy's a rally killer. That's the only thing I see now, our weakness. So hopefully, I'm praying this guy's off the postseason roster. Let's go, Blue Crew. Let's go, Dodgers. 2 in a row, baby. Make it happen. Let's rock and roll. That hat's off the hook, though, D-Mac. I love it.
This was from when D-Mac was on yesterday, mind you. So they did go 2-0, and then they ended up going 3-0, which I think is better than 2-0. That's just my thoughts on it. This is from our buddy Rams Don. This happened on Thursday after the Dodgers clinched. Let's listen.
Clint, Jeff, what's up? Rams Don, Rubio bleeds blue. Ramley ties here. Let's go blue. 12 out of 13 years, 13 more wins to go to get the whole thing again. Got a few short words I like to say. Marcus Lynn, mother effing Betts.
You thought.
Shohei, mother effing Ohtani. And Federico Von effing Freeman. Let's go blue.
I love that.
Federico Von Freeman.
I mean, that's his legally given name now. The MV3 is going to help us out. And also to go back to the previous call, I mean, F Michael Conforto just as a whole. And now let's lock in because Richie was happy when the Dodgers clinched the division.
So now it's done. We achieved what we thought couldn't be achieved because our bullpen was a mess. Half our guys are on the IL throughout the entire year, and everything that could go wrong did go wrong. In short, the baseball gods hated us. But somehow, some way, we gutsed it up and we won. So let's talk about the postseason, shall we? For starters, throw away the computer, throw away the analytics. Don't get cute with having Banda open up a game and screw around with everything that essentially that we're not used to doing throughout the entire year. Just play baseball. Put our best horses on the mound. Put our best lineup on the mound. Screw the lefty-righty bullshit. And let's just go out there and play ball. Let's just break out the hard hats, put on our work boots, stamp the time clock, put our lunch pills away until it's time to eat, and let's just go out there and just play Dodger baseball. In short, just kick everybody's ass and let's get 13 wins as quickly as possible. That's all we got to do. And essentially, my message to the bullpen, okay, I don't want to hear that it was my fault. That's not an option. I need to do better. That's not an option. This was on me. That's not an option. Either you grow a pair or you don't. And if you can't, then, hey, we'll see you next year at Camelback Ranch. It's that simple. There's no time to have a guy come out of the bullpen and walk a leadoff hitter and then hit a guy and then give up a double down the line, and all of a sudden our starting pitching goes right down the toilet. So in short, I say this. Throw strikes, play catch, put the ball in play, run the bases intelligently. Right, Andy? So let's all be happy. And the Padre fans who are bitching and moaning, saying that we spent all that money and all we're going to get is 91 or 92 wins. Hey, look, we handed it to you on the silver platter, and you didn't do it. You should have been taking advantage of that, and you would have been happier than Clint getting a coupon for buy one, get one free Baconators. So let's do this. Everybody had a chance, Padres, and you blew yours, just like you went 24 scoreless innings last year. So that should tell you what type of organization that you have. So let's get this done. Let's get out of Seattle healthy, and let's take care of business. The time is now. See ya.
Appreciate all of our calls. Appreciate Richie calling in. And
I like the part where Richie said, in short, at the 13-minute mark of a 17-minute voicemail.
Hey, he's got a lot of things to say. You know this. But one of
the other thing I liked was that Richie is already mad at analytics that haven't happened yet. And that, I promise you, nobody's thinking about Anthony Banda being an opener with this rotation.
Well,
use openers when you need to.
That was the thing. I thought the same, but then they decided to do the Banda game a couple weeks ago, which was just, I don't know, it felt weird. Do you think that they actually buy into the starters?
But that was with Emmett Sheehan, right?
Yeah. No, was it Sheehan?
You're not doing an opener for Blake Snell or Yoshinobu Yamamoto or Tyler Glasnow or Shohei Ohtani. That's like, you use openers when, they wanted to give Sheehan experience getting out of the bullpen. I think that's the only time this year that they used like an opener. They did a couple bullpen games. I think that was the only opener game. Maybe not, but I know they didn't do it a lot. But maybe when guys were hurt, and so they did have Landon Knack or people like that making starts. But yeah, nobody is even considering doing opener for this Dodgers starting rotation that's going into October.
Yeah, last year they needed bullpen games because they only had 3 starters at most. By the way, we also got a come on, open up here. We got a text on the voicemail hotline along the way today from the 513. Tanner Scott needs to be the number 1 pitcher. I'm a Reds fan. Appreciate you texting in as well. That's pretty good.
I saw Owen in the chat said that too. Said, as a Reds fan, I want Tanner Scott the game 1 starter. So maybe that's who texted it.
We appreciate Owen still hanging out with us. He said he was going to bed a little while ago. Maybe Reds fans don't have a lot of good podcasts that hang out with you on Sunday nights, but we appreciate you hanging out with us here, Owen. And of course, everybody else, Sydney, Amanda, I'm seeing here in the chat, Indigenous 69, Nicole, Mark, everybody hanging out, of course. And if I'm talking about people, I'm going to do this for Diane, because this is for Diane now. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, all that kind of stuff. Help us out. Help us get to 20,000 subscribers. Finally, let's talk about the playoffs. They're here. They start on Tuesday. They do need to figure out a roster, Jeff. We heard some noise. We heard some chatter over the last couple of days about Tyler Glasnow, and his availability and how he'll be deployed, and the same with Clayton Kershaw, who ended up going a full start today, which means he will be unavailable for the wild card series. But here is the Glasnow thing, which I did talk to Doug yesterday about my idea that I texted you a couple days ago. I was like, listen, I'm just saying, like, I don't even smoke weed, but it's the whole idea of somebody's like, okay, hear me out. Clayton Kershaw starts, Glasnow to the bullpen, because you want strikeout stuff out of the bullpen, right? Well, Glasnow could be available in relief for the wild card series. What do you think about it?
You want strikeout stuff out of the bullpen when the game's close. Your chances of the game being close are higher in a bad way if you go with a less effective starting pitcher. I love me some Clayton Kershaw, you know that, but I think 6 innings from Tyler Glasnow is always going to be more valuable than 1 inning of Tyler Glasnow, even if he gets to do it 2 or 3 times in a series. It's but so I like that he's going to be available since they're not going to need him as a starter here in the wild card series. Mm-hmm. I hope that they don't. I feel like sometimes managers, including Dave Roberts, will maybe get in their mind, well, since this guy's available, I have to use him. And I hope they don't use Glasnow in relief just because he's available.
Yeah.
I think the best case scenario is that Glasnow is available if they need him, and they don't need him because the offense steps up. And, I don't need Glasnow pitching when the Dodgers are up 7-2, just because, he's here, you got to use him. Can't take him with you. Yeah, you can. You can take him with you. You can take a rested Tyler Glasnow with you to the division series. And so that's my only concern about it, is that they will use him just because they can.
I think Max Scherzer, NLDS Game 5-21. That's what I kind of feel. They didn't need to use Max Scherzer in that situation, and it probably cost. I mean, they were falling apart either way, but it probably cost them at least a better chance at doing some damage.
It definitely hurt them. I don't know if it cost them, but it hurt them.
Yeah, exactly. So we decided to throw together what we think the roster, I guess technically it's not putting together what we think the roster is looking like. We put together some locks, and then the
guys
some
names on a list so we can talk about them.
Yeah, basically so people have something pretty to look at besides our faces for a little bit here. But the Ohtani there on the asterisk means, of course, he does not count against the pitching staff, so the Dodgers are the only team that get to have 14 pitchers technically, but not technically. But there are your locks, of course. Blake Snell, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Shohei Ohtani, who does not count, Tyler Glasnow, Emmett Sheehan, Justin Wroblewski, Anthony Bonda, Jack Dreyer, and Alex Vesia. And then in the mix of majority of these being locks, Tanner Scott, Blake Trinan, Roki Sasaki, Edgardo Henriquez, Ben Kasparius, whose name has popped back up again. And we decided to put in Kyle Hurt on this list. And we do have a note, shout out Blake Williams, Dodger Blue, on the Will Klein thing. Will Klein actually, because he was optioned, would not be available for the wild card series. But yeah, of those names really on the right side there, Scott, Trinan locked in, Sasaki locked in at this point?
Yeah, I would think so. Like, I think Roki, if they were going to give him a chance to prove that he could do it, I feel like not sure what else he could have done, especially when you look at so we've got 8 guys here on the left in the locks, which means there's room for 5 more. There's only 7 guys on that list.
Yeah.
6 really, because Will Klein's not eligible.
Yep.
And so 5 of these 6 guys are going to make it. It's not going to be Kasperius and Hurt.
Nope.
Like 2 guys who haven't pitched in 2 weeks and have not pitched in the major leagues in somewhere between 2 months and 2 years or a year, whatever. So they're not both going to make it. So realistically, Tanner Scott, Blake Treinen, Roki Sasaki, and Ed Gargo are all going to make the roster. And the only question is Kasperius or Hurt for that last, unless they went with a 12-man pitching staff so they could carry 3 catchers, which they could do.
Can you do that? That was one of the things
you can.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no limit on position players. There's only limit on pitchers. So,
I mean, I don't know. It's very difficult to say that we need one more pitcher, but also if you find yourself, it's a 3-game series, F it, because we don't know what Will Smith's status is going to be. Maybe there is a chance. I'm going to throw it back up because why not? Do they really need all of those dudes, Can they get away with that? But then if they don't have Henriquez or Kasperius or something, and it sounds...
and for me, the most likely would be that they drop those last 3 names off, Kasperius, Hurt, and Klein, and that those other 12 are your 12. And, honestly, that might make more sense than having Kasperius or Hurt, who, again, haven't pitched. Let's see, Kasperius pitched on September 20th was the last time.
Oh, at
Kyle
AAA,
Hurt,
yeah.
Yeah, at AAA. Kyle Hurt, September 21st. They both pitched well in AAA. But you're not going to put either of them in high leverage spots, and neither of them is really built up to be a long reliever in, if you need one of those. And you've got, Sheehan and Robleski and Dreyer who can go multiple innings if they need to. You add all of that up. I don't know that, especially if they do want to have Will Smith on the roster, but they're not sure about his health.
Yeah.
So you do want to carry 3 catchers. It's not the craziest thing in the world to go with a 12-man pitching staff.
Yeah, the only reason or how I could see that also working out more in that favor, more towards carrying fewer pitchers, is that you could also have maybe a Hesung Kim on the roster and be a pinch runner or a late game defender or something like that. So let's look at the position side here, which we broke up this way. You have your locks there, and that is 9 guys, I think it was 8 guys, 9, I don't know, it was 8. And then you have your healthy locks where these dudes are going to be on the roster, of course, if they're healthy. I think Muncy and Edman, Dave already said, I do have a screen about this. Dave said those guys are going to be available. They expect to be ready to go for both of those games. Muncy probably in the starting lineup, and then Will Smith today. We're going to find out tomorrow on Monday whether or not he will be available, because he will be taking some daddy hacks over there at Dodger Stadium, doing some live BP and all of that. So I would say then we have 8, 9, 10, 11. So you're saying only one more. Oh, wait, no, that would give us 2.
So 2 more.
2 more.
2 or 3 more, yeah. Because I'll have either 13 or 14 position players. So, I will say that quote about Will Smith, that feels to me like Will Smith isn't going to be on the Wild Card Series roster. I don't know. Not even optimistic Dave, not even we expect Will Smith on the roster. It's we'll see what happens tomorrow, So I don't know. But even if they did, so say they do, say they put those 11 guys, then you've got 2 or 3 more guys. Rushing
would be one if they decide to go with the 3 catcher route.
Yeah, if Will Smith's on the roster, I feel like Dalton Rushing has to be. I don't know that you can really run the risk of not having, of only having the 1 catcher, especially because one of the things I mentioned it last week, and I don't know the answer to it yet, is Will Smith's injury being a pre-existing injury. Remember, I talked about last year, Evan Phillips, the reason that he wasn't on whichever postseason roster he wasn't. I think it was the World Series, right? Evan Phillips wasn't on the World Series roster because he said he could have pitched, but if he had aggravated the injury, because it was a pre-existing injury, the Dodgers would not have been allowed to replace him on the roster, which normally if a player gets hurt, you can replace him on the roster. My guess is that same thing would apply to Will Smith. So if Will Smith were to injure the hand or not be able to play because of the hand, they wouldn't be able to replace him on the roster within the series, which means you have to have a third catcher. So anyway, going back to the list.
I mean, you can get away with it too. Let's say in this particular scenario, Conforto or Call or Hesson Kim are on the roster. You could just probably pull one of them off and add in if there's not a Dalton, you plug him in.
But you can't change. Yeah, you can't change the roster with mid.
Well, I guess you can't just change it. Yeah,
except in the case of an injury.
Yeah.
And so yes, if Smith couldn't be pulled off for injury, that's the concern there. So I feel like if Smith's on the roster, you have to have rushing, which so it kind of takes up two of those spots.
Yeah.
That's part of why I don't think Will Smith's going to be on the roster. You just look at the logistics. So if we say the 8 locks plus Muncy and Edman, that's 10. And then you could just say, okay, those 4 guys under in the mix can all just be on there if you're only going 12 pitchers. If not, it's like, well, do we, we know that the Reds are probably going to start Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo, a righty and a lefty. It would be nice if Hunter Green was left-handed too, so then they could just say, oh, sorry, Michael, since both guys we're facing are lefties in these first 2 games, no real point in having you on the roster here, buddy.
Hunter Green does have a left arm.
That's true. He does.
So.
Yeah. But yeah, my honestly, if I was and we should mention the reason we put the long shots on here is just because if for some reason all 3 of those guys in the healthy locks column were unavailable, you don't have enough guys here. Like there's only 12 other names between locks and in the mix. You'd kind of have to go with Freeland, Dean, or Ruiz. It wouldn't be Esteury Ruiz because the only thing he brings to the table is stealing bases. He's not a great defender, and Justin Dean is just as good at stealing bases and is a great defender. So Dean's more likely than Ruiz. Freeland is more likely than either of them, but all 3 of them are long shots for a reason because there's not really room for them unless Muncy, Smith, and Edman are all hurt.
By the way, so we're getting word in the chat. Lodolo pitched today. So of the other arms available for the Reds, there's Andrew Abbott, a lefty who had a pretty good season here, 10-7, 2.87 ERA over 29 starts, or Brady Singer, the former Royal, I think he was, who had a fine season as well, 14-12, 32 starts, 4 ERA. So more likely, it feels like it would be the lefty still and Abbott, and then everybody else that's available. But
I didn't realize Lodolo had pitched today, but
the game was meaningful to them.
It was, but that makes me happy because Lodolo is the guy who made the Dodgers look silly a couple times this year.
Mm-hmm.
He went. Oh, he only threw 1 inning today.
If he only threw 1 inning, then
he could probably still easily start game 2. I would assume he's starting Wednesday. He only threw 1 inning today.
Worst comes to worst, he would be, game 3 if they needed. Oh, so now we're also getting C. Carrera said Brady Singer started today. All right. So never mind. Let's stick with what we originally said, and we'll figure it out. It's probably going to end up being Lodolo, like you mentioned.
Yeah, Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo probably in the first 2 games. And, I think the only real question mark on this roster is will Will Smith be on it? Because if he is, then that bumps one of those 4 in the mix guys off the roster.
Yeah, and I'll say listen, if Will's not ready, I saw a couple people mentioning, have him on as a pinch hitter. If he can't hit to be in the lineup, he's not going to pinch hit, and you're not just going to have him in there for defensive reasons because you already have 2 other catchers. So I'm okay to hold Will Smith off for 2 games because it should be a sweep against the Reds, right, everybody? Right? Sorry, Owen. So yeah, it's going to be those dudes that are in the mix. It should be 13-13, and Bob's your uncle.
Yeah, I don't have an Uncle Bob, but I wish I did, I guess.
What about Robert?
No, I'm familiar with the concept of nicknames.
Baberto.
I do have an Uncle Baberto. Yeah, I forgot about him.
What about Bert? That's what we think. I would be shocked if they don't go with our rosters because we put them on here. So, listen to us, Dodgers, and then pay us. I think that's how it works or something. But that's That's about it. You know, we get the official roster not till
Tuesday
midday
morning,
Tuesday,
probably.
yeah. Or,
Yeah.
morning, midday, whatever it is. So it should look pretty much like what we laid out here, even if it, we have locks and not locks or whatever. You see the names. You guys can put it together if you are watching on the YouTube side of things. But I guess to button up, Dodgers Reds Tuesday, 6:08 p.m. Pacific time. Looking forward to that one. We're still going to talk and figure out what our content looks like leading up to it. I get a feeling that we might end up doing some pre-games for some of these because 'tis the season to go hard in the paint when it comes to content. But any final thoughts before we sign off?
You got any plans to go to any games, or you just prefer watching them from your pool?
Well, I don't get to watch them from my pool. I have to do content here. I need to lock in to know the things I'm talking about. So, stay tuned to All Dodgers for content this postseason. Stay tuned to Dodgers Territory for content this postseason. We're going to have a whole bunch of stuff, hopefully for 13 more wins, guys. That's the goal.
I might be at the game on Tuesday. It's up in the air. I've been invited by a friend. It's just a matter of if I can get down there.
Oh, baby. So you have that car? So
I've got stuff going on Tuesday morning. So if I come down, I'm going to have to fly, and realistically look at all the Southwest is the least expensive, but they don't do any nonstops, and so it's going to be a pricey proposition to fly down. So we'll see what happens.
Tough out here being a Jeff, guys. Well, we'll figure it out either way. There will be some sort of content with myself and probably a post game here on All Dodgers. But just stay tuned. Best way to know what's going on is check it out on the on the Discord. And to get to the Discord, you have to sign up for our Patreon, patreon.com/realfrg, or click the join button here on YouTube. Our most popular tier is the $5 tier, where you are supporting independent baseball and Dodgers coverage here on YouTube, but also at the same time you get access to our Discord where we're talking about the Dodgers all day long, all year long, and the postseason gets a little nutty. We did one last year. It was fun, and it's a lot more fun when they win 11 or 13 games and get that piece of metal. So check it out. If you can't do that, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. That is the second best way to support the show because it's free, and we'd appreciate it if you do that. But thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for hanging out with us here on this Sunday. A big shout out to FanDuel for presenting the show. Shout out Bleav Network for having us. They have mostly good shows from what I understand. And we'll see you tomorrow with an official series preview. Bye.
Bye.